Well, g'day. Welcome into The Raw, a Southland sporting podcast. Good to have you in for episode 5 of the new reincarnation. I'm Nick Jeffrey, and together with Active Southland's Nathan Burden and the Southland Tribune's Logan Savory. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, back for another week.
Back for another. And we've got a jam-packed edition.
Haven't we? For
the first time in the Raw history, we've got 2 guests. Well, we've got one feature interview, and really looking forward to Jen O'Connell, who'll be with us, timely as well, with the Ascot Park Hotel Southern Steel getting going on Monday night in Christchurch up against the Tactics as they start their ANZ Championship campaign. So looking forward to having a look at the comeback of Jen O'Connell. It's quite a story, isn't it? She's back in the ranks after obviously stepping away from netball, and as she'll tell us, thinking that she was completely done.
Yeah, and when we first talked about making this pod wider than rugby, Jen was one of the guests that I really wanted to get on because I knew it was going to be a good yarn, and it's turned out that it was a cracker.
Yeah, so looking forward to that. So we'll unpack the Steel season with Jen O'Connell shortly. We're also going to hear from Sean Withy, actually, probably to quote the Southland Tribune's Logan Savory, the most important rugby signing for Southland in the history of rugby.
Wow,
something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway.
So it's just like chucking a massive big burden on his back, isn't it? But
absolutely.
Anyway, I think even he acknowledged, I guess, the statement that it makes. Yeah.
Yeah, no question. So looking forward to that. I was actually lucky enough to be part of a really good night on Saturday night with Southland Boys High School. Sean Withy was one of the guests, so we'll talk about that for you shortly as well. Let's pick through some of the stories from since we were last with you with our last episode of The Raw. The worst kept secret in Southland rugby was confirmed this week by Rugby Southland HQ. And that was that Matt Saunders will have a hands-on role with the group this coming year.
Yeah, I think you'd say probably quite a drawn-out process.
A drawn-out announcement.
Announcement,
anyway.
Maybe. Yeah. So obviously, they made some changes around the coaching there, and Matt Saunders, who was pretty well involved last season anyway as director of rugby and was at pretty much every training and carrying the water and running message, etc. But he's taken on more of a hands-on role this year as. I tried to get it out of him actually what his title was, but he said director of rugby but also coach alongside James Wilson.
It's quite a big business card.
Yeah,
isn't
so
it?
he's got a fair bit on his plate there, I would have thought. But and they've obviously James Wilson stayed on. Daryl Thompson stayed on as assistant coach, and they brought in Kane Thompson, who the Stags fans will remember from past days, who's currently coaching in the States at the moment.
What do we know too much about his coaching pedigree as well too? You know,
I think pretty early in his coaching career, but over in the States, I believe doing some of their line out work and bits and pieces, and will come into that similar role here. But obviously, a very experienced player, given his time across a lot of different teams. So, and I think they really wanted to have a bit of a connection there, albeit it's been a while since Kane Thompson has been with the Stags, but he is a former Stag.
I do remember him as a player. You just got a sense that he perhaps that he didn't think just in stereotypical terms about rugby too. He was a bit more of a thinker about the game. So interesting to see him coming through the coaching ranks. And I guess a little bit the same. We've had Panel in here before as a guest, haven't we? And we all got that sense that he was, he definitely thinks pretty hard about the game and what's happening with the game down here.
Interesting to note that both Matt and James currently in Japan. You talked about this in the Southland Tribune earlier in the week. So they're over with Toyota Blitz.
Yeah, it's funny how this sort of relationship, not a really official relationship, but it sort of started. It all just stemmed from Jason Price, who's a good Winton lad, who is Toyota Blitz's head of athletic performance, I think is his title is. Anyway, but basically looks after the strength and conditioning. And Steve Hansen's the director of rugby over at Toyota Blitz. And I think Steve had mentioned to old Pricey that probably be great if we could get some of these Japanese players playing a bit of club rugby in New Zealand, just to expose themselves to New Zealand rugby and as their development. And so Jason got on the phone to Ben McHugh, who was Pirates Old Boys coach. And last year they had 4 guys from Toyota Blitz come out. And then Steve Hansen come to the final and watched those guys play, Southland final. And then through that there was discussions about potentially Matt and James heading over there for a week to learn off Steve, just how they structure a week leading into a game, and so it's been a funny old sort of journey to get to that point where a relationship. And while they're over there, they're obviously going to be talking about some more guys coming back here in probably end of May or something like that to play club rugby here as well.
And of course, Fiblets, coached by Ben Herring, who was possibly one of my favourite Stags of all time, to be honest.
He scored some great tries, didn't he?
Yeah.
From the kickoff against Wellington, I remember that one. Yeah.
I mean, they've also got Aaron Smith and
Bowden Barrett.
So there's some a bit of rugby intel there to tap into.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So hopefully there is some, no doubt there will be some great stuff that they'll be able to bring back as well too. So that's confirmed at a Southland Stags level. From a club rugby point of view, up and over the weekend, it was a pretty tough day out for Blues in more than one way, not just on the scoreboard on the weekend, right, mate? You were there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, well beaten on the scoreboard. 48-7, but I think for everyone at the game, the biggest disappointment was an injury to poor old Billy Andrew, who's a young loose forward there, who dislocated his ankle and broke his tibia at the same time, which isn't nice. And I understand, getting surgery earlier this week, and just last week we had Scott Eade mention him on the pod as a guy that's in the academy and making good strides. And talking to a number of people, they said that he was in a well-beaten Blues team the week before, was just absolutely outstanding for Woodlands. So obviously, really disappointed. Big year for Blues in the 150th, but also for him personally. So shout out to him. Hopefully, you're still young. You'll be back, Billy, and back into it. So I guess there's a decent road ahead of recovery there.
Big win for Pirates Old Boys as well, up and over Marist. The close run game was Barbarians, who got themselves out a 24 or 26 point lead. 26-0 lead just after half time in that game, and then Woodlands come storming home. Barbars holding on to win 26-24 in that game as well. I'm just, when you have a look at it, is it a wee bit early? It is too early, 2 weeks in to go. Righto, we've got the top four locked in. Could be long years for Marist and for Blues. Is that a bit harsh?
Yeah.
That's way too harsh.
I mean, it is early, but there is a feeling that, 6-team competition where there's straight 4 teams going to the semi-finals. But I think, Blues and Marist in particular at full strength will probably give some teams a shake. But you look at some of the other teams, particularly Pirates Old Boys, got a bit of depth there, so they'll... as the season goes on, it might be a little tougher for some of the other teams.
I did hear talk that Morgie Mitchell, just outstanding, up against Paula Latu and Joe Walsh, and a couple of Stags teammates in the front row for Woodlands as well. And I think the boys that came down from the Highlanders, they were out watching that game, and they said Morgie just was outstanding, putting the squeeze on his mates.
Yeah. Oh, I think he's getting better and better by the sounds of it, old Morgie. We always knew how good he was, but that Barbarians team was going to be strong anyway. But with him in there,
it was a big Saturday for the Mitchell family because Braden was teaming up with Trevor Popham, and they had quite a handy lead at halfway through the ILT Gold Cup. Out at Otatara, actually.
So has Braden gone from golf to... Is he coach star? So that's a big Saturday.
Yeah, he was playing the morning round and then fronting up to do his duties in the afternoon, I believe. Yeah.
So you do need to get this off your chest, right? Because I understand
it's still a bit soon, actually.
The Burden-Houghton combination just finished one shot off the pace. That's tough.
Yeah, winners in 2021.
Good that you brought that up again.
We were. Have I mentioned this before?
Last week, I believe. Yes.
Maybe the week before.
Yeah, the week before.
Yeah, we were there or thereabouts. Although I think we were 5 shots back from Mitchell and Popham that halfway mark. But on the back of almost single-handedly, actually, Mark Houghton, who broke 80 for the first time at Otatara.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, managed to pull us right into contention on Sunday. But unfortunately, his partner.
How was his shoulders from carrying?
Well,
for the weekend?
Effectively, they'll be sore today. You'll probably have to go and see Aaron Barclay to get a bit of it to get stretched out, actually. But we unfortunately finished, finished second to the McMillan clan, husband and wife team, so they were deserved winners. It's good to share it around.
It's very, very gracious of you.
Diplomatic.
Yeah.
There was a difference between actually a new Weber barbecue coming home and a lovely. Actually, I won a dozen oysters in the raffle too, which is pretty.
That's
it was
handy.
a pretty good night. No, we went home with really nice rangefinders actually. So yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
great prizes. So yeah,
Awesome.
get into that ILT Gold Cup next year. Great
Nice.
prizes.
This is good stuff. I'm happy to keep talking about the golf because that means we don't have to talk about the Sharks. We can-
Moving quickly on.
yeah.
Poor old,
Poor old Sharkies. We do need to mention the Sharks. It's been a tough week. It's been a tough start to the campaign for the Southland Sharks. Of course, 3 games in 8 days, not easy. And then after letting one of the American imports go, Josh Turner has jumped on a plane and headed back to the US. And we're being without their captain Alonzo Burton also, just with a hamstring tweak. Which hopefully isn't too serious. Well, isn't too serious, but was more precautionary. It did mean that they were pretty short-handed taking on the Hawke's Bay Hawks, but unfortunately that does mean that they're 0-3 to start the year and rooted at the bottom of the South's NBL table.
And lucky you got the Saints up next.
I was
Yeah.
about to say the next assignment. It's not a.
Well, I won't say too much because by the time this podcast hits the airwaves, you never know. There may be a replacement import
That's good.
guard that will be announced, all going well, one way or the other. I suppose it will be. So so that will be news potentially over the next day or two, which should be a bit of a fillip. But not an easy start, no question about that. But
I guess the thing, from watching from afar, what we have seen is that in a quarter, maybe a half, probably in a quarter, in all of those games, there's been aspects where this Sharks team are more than good enough. Like it's all there. It's just putting it together in a game, isn't it?
You look at that, Gerald Vick, who obviously, is a bit of talk about him. That first quarter, what did he put down? 15 points? Or
yeah, had
against the
15
Hawks?
at quarter time.
Hawks.
Sharks led pretty comfortably. It was a 2-point game at half time. You
Yeah.
think about that. You think about, they closed the game against the Jets right up at 3-quarter time and were right in the hunt in their home opener. And they did the same against Otago with a third quarter comeback, got themselves in front in that game as well too. So, yeah, you're right, mate. I mean, there are bits and pieces there that sounds like excuses when you're sitting at 0-3, but they're not a mile away from that point of view. So, yeah, I think just missing that on-court general to really drive things. So hopefully that'll be addressed this week, and there'll be a bit of a reset needed. But yeah, you can't get those 3 games back. That's the disappointing thing about it, right? And they were all gettable games from a Sharks point of view. So no skirting that. Okay, we got through that. That's fine. We talk about more golf or something. Let's talk about finishing second in the golf again, eh? That's better. We mentioned Queen's Park, though, because, of course, from a football point of view, the Southern Premier League started up. They're Southland's sole representative as well, and they made the perfect start on the weekend.
Yep, 2-0 win up against Northern Hearts, I believe. And actually, the Queen's Park have also got a women's team in their
Yes.
Premier League. The Women's Premier League competition again this year as well. So a big year for Queen's Park Club. They unfortunately went down 4-0 in that first opener, but they've made a start. And I believe that Queen's Park also won they have a pre-season cup Southland competition, won that as well. So plenty going on in that department.
Yeah, good to hear. So as we said, our special guest is Jen O'Connell. That's not to say our other guest isn't special, but Jen is our feature interview, and we're looking forward to having that conversation shortly. But Southland Boys High School had a great night on Saturday night at the Ascot Park Hotel. So together it was 4 old boys who had made the trek down, with it being an off week for the Highlanders. Jack Taylor, Sean Withy, who we'll hear from shortly, and Ethan de Groot, all were down. And Mills Muliaina travelled down, actually, from up north, which was outstanding. They had a really good turnout, just over 250 there, and they raised a pricely sum, actually, of up over 40 grand, actually, from the auctions alone. So
I hear the Southland Tribune managed to pick up the signed Boys High jersey for...
Unfortunately, the budget doesn't stretch quite that far.
yeah, so they went for 10 grand, actually, which was quite a decent old number. So I have to give a shout out to my mate Nickel Gray, who did the auctioneering and, put 40 grand into the coffers through a lot of his good work. But yeah, and it was an awesome, really well supported. And a really great night too. I made the point, and I think this is what was a bit following on from Scott Eads' conversation. You're sitting up on stage, and you got, had Sean Withy and Jack Taylor, talking through the early stages of their careers as well too, to hear the aspirations that they've got from a rugby point of view. At the end of the conversation, I just went, look, here's 2 guys that are literally the here and now from a rugby point of view, but the future as well too. They're the kind of thing, and we went through this a bit with Scott Ead last week, where which you can really build a program around, which I think is the really exciting part.
Well, I think, you mentioned Sean Withy and Jack Taylor, both up with the Highlanders, and by all counts are really well respected up there in the pairs, and don't mind flying the Southland flag pretty proudly around the place. So I think they, certainly make their presence felt in terms of making sure that people know that they maybe should be looking at Southland.
And a lot of times you hear people talk about, look, why don't we drop down into Heartland, and at least we could win a few games on the trot, from a Stags point of view, but. And we don't know what the NPC is going to look like going forward either. But while it is in its current format, these guys wouldn't have a pathway. They wouldn't have something to aspire to unless we were up in that first division. So it means it makes the fight, I guess, worthwhile for the scrap to stay up into that top division.
And Jack's a really good example where he goes, growing up, the only jerseys I wanted to wear was Southland and the Highlanders. Now he's got, and that's exactly the opportunity that even at his young stage of life that he's been able to do. But you can see genuinely what that means to a young man like that. And yeah, right, mate, no doubt, you do not want to lose that. So I was able to grab a few minutes of Sean Withy's time as well too. So here he is from Saturday night. Well, Sean, we're at the Ascot Park Hotel. Pretty special night for Southland Boys High School as we raise a few funds for them to head away to the World Championship at the end of this month. As an old boy, it's pretty special for you watching them get it done too, right?
Yeah, it has been really special. Been there myself, and we got absolutely dicked up the road, so know how tough it is, and to achieve what they achieved, it's pretty cool, and awesome to see. So I'm looking forward to see the results when they go over to Japan, and seeing how they can do back in the season here as well.
And younger brother Tane following in the footsteps, like all Withys seem to do, captaining the first 15, right?
Yeah, no, it's cool that he has been named captain. Cool for us as a family, and cool for him really as well. A disappointing year last year, not being able to play a single game. So for him to get that title and have that trust from Scouty and Durham's and the other players, and I'm just looking forward to see him hopefully get a full year on the paddock.
Well, the big news, mate, of course, is you signing from a Stags point of view as well. We've talked about this on the night. You were fortunate enough we were fortunate enough to hear your story out there as well. Tell us a little bit about that decision and, I guess, how important it was for you to return back to the south.
Yeah, it was growing up in the region, obviously, and watching Stags my whole life. I always wanted to play for them, and it was more just a matter of time and when the timing was right. And, I felt like this year's the time to come back, and I'm looking forward to it and what we can try to do and achieve down here for the Stags. Obviously love my time in Otago and wouldn't have it any other way, and what I've done in my career there and the opportunity they gave me. But as I said, the timing was right to come home, and I'm actually looking forward to it.
And we talked about it too, that obviously acquiring a player of your talents is great in and of itself, but that wider picture of someone being able to return home and kind of buck the trend about heading north, that was something, interestingly, that actually was part of your decision-making as well.
Yeah, it was a wee bit. I was sort of the first one to go from Southland and join the Otago ranks in the academy. Not obviously the first one to go up to university there and play rugby, but the first one to sort of jump ship into different academies and for Otago rugby. So been to follow a few others do that as well after me. So whether I copied it or not, or thought the idea was there, but it's something I thought about that. Hopefully I can be a bit of a catalyst for local boys in Dunedin and in the Otago team to come back in the future. Something that I'm hoping to achieve, and hopefully something that can happen down the track.
Like the sound of that. And starting, of course, against your old mates from Otago. I mean, how big an occasion is that going to be with Stag Day at Rugby Park to kick off the NPC campaign?
Yeah, it is going to be a big day. Hopefully, all going well. I am playing in that match, selection dependent and injury dependent. So, it'll be a pretty special moment for me if I am to run out at Rugby Park. We're in a Southland Stags jersey against Otago, my old team. As I said, hopefully the terrace is full of rowdy Southland supporters, full of booze, and we can make for a good atmosphere and hopefully a good win. And it's going to be something pretty special for me if I'm able to play in that game. Yeah.
You're in an off week from the Highlanders' point of view. We talked a little bit about the physical and mental toll the start of the campaign has had too, because, mate, honestly, just watching you, knew you're the definition of an 80-minute man, but, man, your work rate, that engine of yours, what you put the body through, you said the bye's come at a good time for you.
Yeah, it has. We're only 6 rounds into the comp, but we had 3 pre-season games this year, which is different for us, and, a couple tough losses mentally and physically against New Zealand teams, so yeah, as I said, those New Zealand teams are always the tougher games physically, and yeah, to have 2 tough losses like that when we really wanted to get that first win, well, not the first win, but the first win in a long time against the New Zealand team. Yeah, the mental toll as well in terms of the hurt and a bit of the embarrassment by getting the hiding in front of our home fans against the Hurricanes. So the bye has come at a good time, and you know, I know everyone's going to be back on deck on Monday and looking forward to right a few wrongs and hopefully get our season back on track.
Good stuff, mate. Hey, appreciate your time, and good luck for Melbourne on the weekend.
Beautiful, thanks.
Sean Withy from Saturday night. How good a story is that to hear that the bigger picture of the message that Withy signing for Southland was in his front of mind, actually, when he was making that decision, that he wanted to show that you can come back after you leave. That is something that should warm the cockles of every Rugby Southland fan, I would say, right?
Well, I think he knows how to get some Stags fans fizzed up, doesn't he? With those sort of comments.
It's good stuff, though, right?
It is, yeah. I mean, and he's obviously, like as I mentioned before, pretty well respected as well. And, you know, he's going to be a really good leader in that Southland team as well. But, yeah, he's saying all the right things.
Pretty cool to hear someone who's, you wouldn't exactly refer to him as a grizzled veteran just yet, but he's thinking about something sort of bigger than himself, which is, you know, it's great to hear.
He's been away 4 years, actually. That's the bit that struck me. I couldn't believe he'd been away actually that long.
Yeah, I still remember the day that I rang up Scouty about a rugby game. He said, "Oh, yeah, you'll need to have a look at this kid, Sean Withy, and you know, I reckon he might be the best player I've coached." And we're like, "What? What?" You know, that's 30 years of intel that he's got there. But he hasn't been far wrong. You know, the way he's developed. He's a really key asset for the Highlanders now, isn't he?
Oh, no doubt about that. And he's, you know, I don't know quite what Lurch's plans are, but he's got Southland captain written all over him, hasn't he?
I think that's fair to say, yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And you could tell there's certainly something about him, and he's doing it for all the right reasons. They're going to go after some of that Otago talent. You can tell that. It's and that's good stuff. That is good stuff. And that is going to be some night, some day, Stag Day, you know, and Sean was talking about it, you know, mate, running out, you know, having the terrorists yelling for him rather than abusing him. Will be just something. That you know, I can see this.
It really adds to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
We need to start a campaign around the best poster for bringing these boys home. Who can come up with the best poster on the terraces?
Yeah,
totally. No, it's good stuff. Righto, our feature interview, as we've been saying, as we count down to the start of the ANZ Championship, is the Ascot Park Hotel Southern Steel's Jeante O'Connell. Jen O'Connell has joined the Roar. Welcome in, Jen. First question, how's the head?
I'm all good. Like I just told you, I'm all good.
So this is, of course, you've been battling a little bit of the concussion. So talk us through, one, what happened and how that's impacted you over the last couple of weeks.
Well, just up in Dunedin, bit of pre-season, pretty excited to finally touch the court, and I touched the court with my head eventually after crashing into Jeante. So bit of a bang there, and now just spent some time in bed, but we're on the up now, and it's behind us.
Yeah, no, I know you want to concentrate forward. I'm just going to pull you back though. So it did have quite an effect for you because, as you said, you had to get back from Dunedin one, and then you were saying 4 days in bed.
Yeah. So a few days in bed, and the curtains drawn, and I guess training went on without me for a while, which that's always hard, like when you know that everyone else is working and you can't do anything. But I think for me it was important those first few days to really rest, and then I guess that sets you up for hopefully a faster recovery.
It's not something that I've ever really associated too much, concussion and netball together, but it's great to hear from what you're saying that those protocols are in place and the game's really sort of taking it seriously. Oh,
absolutely. And I think this year, there's new rules in place as well, where people get sent off. But I think we're really lucky. There's heaps of people in our space, and Stacey's one of them, that are just really player welfare driven and stuff. So definitely pretty well supported with that.
What are some of the protocols? I mean, obviously you talked about they're in bed with the curtains closed. I think a lot of other sports restrict the light and whatnot. But from a netball's point of view, has it been ongoing for a while around protocols and what's in place?
Well, I guess I don't know. I'm pretty fresh
in
the environment. But yeah, I guess we do some baseline testing at the start, which is nice. And yeah, we've got a team doctor and stuff like that. So there's lots of things, and yeah, they have to make sure that you are fighting fit before you get back out there.
How do you get baseline tested? What did you have to go through there?
Always know the months of the year backwards. And that's probably the one question I'm really good at. I may or may not practice that sometimes.
Off you go. Let's see how quickly.
Starts with December and ends with January.
Yeah. Gets a bit tough in the middle. The old June, July, the other way around's tough.
Yeah.
When you think about it, like in sport, you're often fatigued, obviously, and then if you've got a head knock and then someone tells you to do that, it's even in the best of times it would be probably hard to roll out some of that stuff.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So how does it kind of work now? You've obviously starting Monday night, as the plan, and yes, you go, she'll be right, but you will have to go through that process. What hoops do you need to jump through, or hurdles do you need to clear between now and then to be good to go on the weekend?
So I've done some return to play. I've redone that baseline testing. Things are looking good. I guess it's
nice.
Now about like how I feel. I've sort of described it as the fuzzies that I sort of get sometimes. So just making sure that all that stuff's in check. And I guess I'm a wee bit older on the athlete spectrum now. So I'm a wee bit better at listening to my body and just knowing that, things aren't quite right. So when they're not, just to pull back a wee bit.
Good stuff. And it will be frustrating for you because obviously coming back into the fold, you would have been fizzed up to get stuck in. And, we had the season launch the other day at the Ascot Park Hotel, which I went along to, and talking to Reinga and Kate there as part of it. It's been probably one of the frustrations team-wide, right, is the inability to maybe get everyone healthy and get some of those combinations rolling.
Yeah, definitely. And I know for me personally, like I've had a couple of other things this pre-season that have had me at home in bed as well while the team's tracking along. But yeah, we haven't had a single full team training, which I think is quite scary. And for people looking, and they keep asking, how's this combination looking or how's that looking? And you honestly can't give an answer. And like people think you're holding back. But yeah, we haven't had a full team training, but I think we're doing lots of other things that things will come together quite nicely right when it needs to.
Sounds good. So talk to us a little bit about how things are coming together in general, despite those kind of challenges. I mean, maybe for you, firstly though, to be able to have been away and now come in, what do we see as the difference in the Jeante Connell that we're likely to see for the season ahead? By comparison to maybe where you were a few years back.
Yeah, and you're right, it has been a while. And I can honestly say that I'm a different athlete, and I think that the space, like that steel space, is a different space as well, which is really exciting. And yeah, it wasn't actually a decision I guess I took lightly when Curly rang me. And I had to think about myself as a person. When I left, I guess I didn't leave on terms that I was happy with. Or terms that, sat very well with me. But I've done a lot of work in that space, and I'm just so excited to be back. And I think that, the path that the Steel's going in is just really exciting for any athlete coming into, which is cool.
Was there a point at some stage where you didn't think you'd probably play at this level again?
That point happened so long ago. And like I honestly say that, that door for me had firmly closed. And so, I can take it right back to when Curly texted me and she asked me to come down for a yarn, and I honestly thought she wanted a hand with some coaching. For me, netball was done, and I was content with that. I'm off, I do other things and things that fill my cup up. So that was okay with me. So for her to ring and ask me to come back was absolutely the last thing that I expected. Right. Yeah.
Because you arrived on the scene, got injured, and then was there a sense that your time had sort of, I don't know, escaped you or something at that point?
Yeah, I think so. I think at the time when I did an ACL and stuff, and I rehabbed, and I felt like I was ready to go again. But at the end of the day, and I guess lots of people talk about it, but it is a high performance environment. And sure, it sucked not to come back, but that just is what it is. Which is why I guess I went away and I did other things that I needed to do. But yeah, it just is what it is, Yeah.
How long did it take you to get yourself through that?
Physically, I guess about 10 months post-surgery, maybe 12, if I'm honest. But mentally, I think, like, I still haven't watched the video back of like when it happened, and I guess to some people that might seem a wee bit silly. But for me, yeah, it was a really hard time. But I'm also really lucky that I've got some really, really cool people around me. And it sort of helped me through that. And I don't know, I guess I sort of found reading as well, which probably sounds a wee bit silly, but yeah, just got into things that would help me. And yeah, it just does take a wee bit of time though.
What sort of reading?
Well, not picture books. I don't know, I guess sometimes it's easier, well, I find for me personally, like it's easier sometimes to read about things and to relate to other people than to try and sit down and talk about it. And then I guess from reading other people's stories into reading things, then it's easier to talk about it after that. But good person, I can't remember his last name, but his name's Hugh, and he the Resilience Project.
Hugh Van Cuylenberg.
Yeah. So he's got a second book as well, and just I don't know, things like that, and people like Ruby Tui and stuff. Pretty cool story, and yeah.
Does it feel like a bit of a bonus, given you probably in your mind thought you wouldn't be playing at this level again?
Oh, absolutely. I describe it as like I feel like I won lotto without buying a lotto ticket. Yeah, and I always felt like I was grateful to be in a position to play sport and call it my job, and to walk out on court and stuff like that. But I can honestly say now, like I've got a whole new meaning for that gratitude, and I just feel so lucky. Yeah.
I don't blame you for not watching that video back. Like I can't watch it when it's happened to other people, let alone if it happened to
myself.
Me.
No question about that. I'm really interested in the conversation then. You know, if you thought you were coming down and Curly was going to have a coaching conversation, take us through when she drops the bomb that she's keen for you to get back out there. How did that go?
Well, I guess people that know me know that I talk a lot. I love to talk.
That's why you're on the podcast, because we knew this wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, not usually about myself, but no, I love to talk. And I actually couldn't go down and see her. I was out of town. I was working on a farm. And so, yeah, I said, I'll give you a call on my lunch break. And I sat out on this rusty trailer, and she started to talk, and I sort of just went pretty blank. And the first thing that came out was like, oh, but like I have a job. And then I laughed at her a bit, and I don't know, then I asked her some really other silly questions like, when does it start? And couldn't even think for like who was in the team or anything like that. And she said, think about it. So I went back into the smoko room, and I just sat there and like stared into space. And there was a whole lot of people in this room that I don't even know. And I just sort of blurted it out. I was like, I just had a real weird phone call. Like, I just got offered a steel contract. Yeah, sort of just doubled the silence, I guess. Yeah.
Nice.
No, that's awesome.
I guess with the season here, like, how are you feeling sort of going back into that and potentially playing in that environment, given it's been a while now? What is it? Is it excitement, or is there nerves, or what is the feeling at the moment?
Well, I think it's definitely a mix of both, and I would be lying if I told you I was like 100% ready to go. Yeah, and I think Southland, that stadium, it's an incredibly special place to play in, but it's also pretty scary, and I was spent the last couple of years sitting on the other side with Sonia, and you hear that crowd, and so, yeah, there is definitely an element of nerves, but, yeah, I'm working through that.
I'm interested, you made a point before in terms of the difference in the Steel organisation as well, so interested in unpacking that a little bit more. What have you found having been away and then coming in, and perhaps the changes in terms of from an organisational point of view at the same time as obviously the way you've developed as a person since?
Yeah, I think for me, I guess when I was first in it, I was a lot younger, and I guess probably pretty naive as well. But I think coming back in, there's a huge focus on the people, and like myself, not even as an athlete, but as a person, I think, people are the most important thing. And I think so much of what they do is around the people, and it's ensuring that they, like you are okay. And and I heard, Curly saying to someone, like, if you need to take a day off, what is one day of training, in order to look after yourself, and things like that sit really high with me. So, it just makes me, I guess, really, really proud to be part of something like that.
Like hearing that. Let's talk about, I guess you're coming in too, given that experience with probably a little bit more from a leadership point of view around you as well too, and experience that you can bring to the table. Do you feel that, and is that part of what you hope to bring to the group as well as obviously out on court?
I'm not sure. I'm probably struggling a wee bit with my own performance. Like, not only have I not been in the environment, but I haven't been playing netball for a really long time. So in terms of coming in, and I guess I've got these ideas, but the body isn't necessarily doing what I want it to do, and I'm not quite getting those results. So I do find it quite hard, I guess, to pipe up and say what I'm thinking because I'm not doing what I'm thinking. But I guess
that'll come.
Yeah, it will. And everyone knows that I love to talk, so I chirp a bit out there.
Having played a bit of basketball, what does that bring? What do you take from that into this other code?
Yeah, I think I'm incredibly lucky that I've been playing basketball, and I guess ever since I've come back in, that's been like a big talking point, and Curly's been so supportive of that, and she's mentioned so many times that she can see like it's been such a positive impact and stuff, and I definitely think it's helping like the way I play, but it's so cool that I can still go back and dabble in that a wee bit as well.
So what does that practically look like? Is that just a bit more of a physical presence that game has brought for you, or what would you put that down to?
Yeah, I think definitely physically, and like I came into this season like fitter. It sounds crazy, but I was so excited to run the yo-yo when we.
That is crazy talk. That's crazy talk.
Yeah. When we first came in, because I was doing basketball and I was doing some other stuff. So coming in fit, and I guess as a coach, like obviously the last thing they want to do is to have to start with fitness. So I think for me to be able to come in at like a good thing was a really nice place to start. What
number did you do? And the yo-yo.
Well, that's just embarrassing. I said it was good. I still didn't say it was great.
Feel free not to answer.
It's not set up for the taller athlete, the yo-yo.
Thank you.
You'd think with longer levers.
Long strides,
this is my experience of it. It was called the beat test back in my day.
Yeah. To be fair, my only experience with the yo-yo is watching other people run the yo-yo, which, to be fair, I'm more than happy with.
Yeah.
I've actually got a surprise one coming up either this week or next, so I'll let you know when it does.
A surprise yo-yo?
Yeah.
They're the best kind of yo-yos.
Do you just turn up to training and say, oh, look out, today we're doing the yo-yo?
That's what's going to happen, yeah. Well, a couple of us missed it, so I was parked up in bed. So whilst it's been a real curse, I did get out of it this time around. So it'll be coming up, and I'll let you know. Come on down.
They could have doubled that pay in the women's basketball last year, couldn't they? Timing hasn't been quite right there.
Right, but I mean, how cool for the game. I guess, the netballers talk about things, and I sitting over the other side, I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. Yeah.
We did have this conversation, sorry, Sam.
Right.
We did have this conversation the other night at the launch, right? So you were a member of the Southern Hoiho at the Tauihi League. And is that, they've now, what the good thing is they've also moved the timing, right? So it actually, what is it, an October sort of to December kind of window that they're looking at for this year. So it actually ties in quite well with the ANZ season. Is that still potentially on the radar?
Yeah, probably the old me wouldn't like to say it publicly, but absolutely that's a goal. I just felt so lucky last year to even be involved in that mix, and it's an incredible environment up there as well. And just playing basketball in general, and I guess it's the same sort of thing with netball, travelling around, but absolutely stoked that hopefully I can finish this season in one piece and then head away and have a good bit of practice and hopefully head into that league.
I guess just as a wider picture, the growth of the opportunities for female athletes, and talking about basketball now, and netball's been long standing, but that, as a female athlete yourself, that must be pretty cool to see what is the progress that's happening across a lot of sports. Oh,
absolutely. And I think when I was growing up, I did play basketball, but never to the extent that I played netball, and it was always a crossroads. And at the end of the day, I picked netball because in New Zealand that was the path. And to see that basketball's doing the same thing and coming leaps and bounds, I think it's absolutely fantastic.
And too often, I think we hear a bit of an old-fashioned attitude around, well, the product isn't there. But I think you're a great example of unless you're getting remunerated and can afford to spend the time training and looking after yourself, and then the product isn't going to get any better, is it? You've got to invest to actually end up with a better thing. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think when you look at other athletes and stuff, and in that basketball era, It is. It's people who are either propped up like by their families or who are working full time. And when you're trying to work full time or study full time and then turn up either silly early or late at night to practices and try and be at that same performance, it's incredibly hard. Yeah.
So that, I guess, that experience last year as well probably helps. So a different sort of environment, I'm sure, probably a different style of coaching, I guess, than the Curly style as well. But that must give you a nice... have you found that actually has assisted, being involved in Tauihi last year has kind of assisted coming back into another high-performance environment like this?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at the end of the day, they are different and it comes down to resources. So, to come back in and, you hear some people, I guess, who don't know any different, maybe in the netball environment, don't have this, don't have that, but like, man, if only they knew, I think the netball environment is just so well resourced. And I like the difference is huge, but being involved in that last year has definitely helped, yeah.
How much has last year played into conversations, in terms of the build-up from a Steel point of view this year? Like in terms of obviously high motivation, no doubt, particularly I'm sure for those involved in last year's campaign. You weren't in that sort of situation, but has that kind of been in play from a conversation point of view, or has that been parked and sort of moved on from?
I guess, and there's so much outside noise and everyone loves to bring it up. And I know for the girls in the room, like everyone's over it.
Yep.
And it's sport, of course, it's going to be a conversation, but man, the work that's being done and the group of people that are there right now, it's going to be different, I'm telling you.
Like it. So there's a nice mix though, isn't there, in terms of returning and obviously new. So tell us a little bit. Tell us how Shannon's going coming back. I mean, let's how's, because I guess she's had a few injury issues as well too pre-season.
Yeah, Shan, what a legend. And I think the way she came back in, man, you wouldn't even know that she's had a kid. And she's so fit and she's so strong. I don't think there's any doubt from anyone that it doesn't even matter if she hasn't been in team training for the last couple of weeks. When she hits the court, she'll be ready to go. And to have someone like that in your team, lucky, so lucky.
Because you were there in 2017-18 when the Steel won the competition. Talk us just through that and what made those Steel teams so special those couple of years.
Windy free. I think that's probably all you really need to say. Having someone like Wendy, and she's been in our environment a wee bit at the moment. We're really lucky that she comes in and helps with coaching. But it feels like a lifetime ago. I guess since I was part of that, and lots of being part of that. I felt like I was really young. So definitely chasing something like that again.
Absolutely.
Put the shoes back on, Wendy. Probably could. And Jeante, you talked about her as well too. Obviously, you've literally clashed heads. But that aside, you're talking to her the other night. She sounds like she's relishing the experience and a massive opportunity. It gives you some context, I reckon, to from a New Zealand netball point of view, what we've got here as well for someone like that who's obviously played largely in South Africa, well, solely in South Africa, and now coming into an environment like this and just relishing the one step up and play, but also the environment around you guys. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that it shows as well, we are so lucky in New Zealand. Obviously people always want more, but like you say, she's come from South Africa and the resources and stuff that we have here are just incredible. And you can argue for more all you want, but also just have to be incredibly grateful for what we have. And to have someone like Jeante come in, like you say, she's relishing it all, she's an absolute sponge, but she's also just a great human being. And I think, that's really cool, to have people like that in your environment because, great people, makes great things.
And she's going to be a good get out on the court as well too?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you wait.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It's a bit of sight unseen, right? Both in terms of the name to us and also obviously from a play point of view. So I guess we get our first look at that on Monday.
Yeah, I guess it sort of goes with the whole team, not having a whole practice, so everything's unseen at the moment.
Did you get a chance to scout much, against the opposition? Getting all those teams together is great, from a pre-season point of view. And everyone, I guess, was at varying levels, and no doubt some playing cards pretty close to chess, given that that was only a few weeks out from the start of the competition. But what's your sort of take in terms of those opposition teams and where, how things are likely to play out throughout the season?
Yeah, I think, like you say, it was a good chance to watch. Unfortunately, I was in a dark room under a table. So, yeah, for myself, there's still work to do, and we're pretty lucky. We've got, like huddle and stuff like that to do our clips, which is the homework at the moment. But I think, with the teams, it is like this year it's going to be tight, which is what people want. It's what the spectators want. And, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
What does prep for a shooter? What does prep look like away from being on court?
Ooh, good question. For me, sometimes it is just about going completely away from netball. I'm lucky I've got basketball, so sometimes for me it is about putting the basketball boots on and just going away and doing something else, or heading back into work. Sometimes it is just completely about removing yourself from the environment, and other times it is also about just getting in under the post and putting shots up.
Are you looking at video of defenders, or does that play a role? Or I'm thinking it probably works the other way, but I don't know if does it work for that way as well?
Yeah, definitely. There's always an element of that, but then you can't play too much into what they're going to do. It's all about you, and I guess people always talk about, the precious shooters. And so it is all about, I guess, at the end of the day, you and your process. So it's around, making sure that that's tight for you.
Mm.
Yeah.
What about personally? What would you like to get out of this season? I mean, coming back after such a long break, I guess. You don't want to set you're going to set the world alight necessarily, but you want to ease into it or whatnot. But by the end of the season, what would you like to have achieved, I suppose, out of the competition?
I think that's probably, you've hit the nail on the head. Like, obviously you'd love to set the world alight, but that's not the reality. So for me, it is just about getting out there to start with, and it's around making sure that I'm still enjoying it. I think high performance sport, I guess it doesn't matter the code. It is a really hard place to be, so it's around making sure that I'm okay. And I think that if I'm still happy turning up to training, and it doesn't matter if it's a yo-yo or what it is, as long as that I'm happy turning up every day, and I can leave the season on that, and I can walk out of the whole space like really happy and really content, then
Sounds pretty good to us.
Absolutely.
Jen, you're a champion, mate. Great to catch up and chat. Thank you so much for taking some time. Good luck for between now and then, obviously, when you get going on Monday, and look forward to seeing you out there.
nice, thank you.
Jen O'Connell, and it's a really good story of someone who thought the door was firmly closed, thought she had firmly closed the door, and then, thanks to the power of conversation with Coach Curley, she's back in the fold. And certainly, I know that all of us, as no doubt Southland netball fans will agree, wish her nothing but the best for the season ahead.
Nothing like a good comeback story, is there?
We love a good comeback story, don't we?
Absolutely, and I think obviously sport is a performance thing, and it's all about wins and losses and that sort of thing. But it doesn't hurt to know the backstory, and we can support these people because we know what they've gone through to get there, and they're doing their best at the end of the day, aren't they?
A little bit like you at the Invercargill Gold Cup, right? That's the.
How did we circle back to?
We've got to wrap our love around you after winning that by one shot.
I'm looking forward to Tokanui. Going to be hosted by Rada Smith at Tokanui for handicap pennants on Sunday. So
fantastic. It is important from a Steel point of view to get away, and it has been a challenging pre-season for them. They went along to their season launch during the week at Ascot Park Hotel and did a quick Q&A with both Reinga and Kate Heffernan, the captain as well. So when you talk about, and as Jen alluded to, trying to build those combinations, which is so vital with some new pieces coming in and out, it's just been impossible for them to do it. So you've got to feel for that. They're almost, without putting too fine a point on it, likely to be making that up on the fly in competition over the first couple of weeks of the season.
Yeah, and it's probably important that at some stage early in the season they have a good result and get a win, because, as Jen mentioned, that probably sick of people talking about what happened last season, as I just bring it back up as well. But if they can get a early result somewhere along the line, that might be just a nice wee confidence boost. But as you said, pretty tough prep.
They'll be the underdog, they'll be the gritty battler, and hopefully a couple of these other teams will not complacent, but they this won't be a game that they'll be targeting as one of their top games. I think we can knock over the Tactics in week one.
Why not?
Let's take that. Interesting quirk, actually, that I presume that both the Steel and the Sharks will be on at the same time. So the ILT Stadium Southland, the Sharks and Saints will be on next Monday as well as that opener from a ANZ Championship or Premiership? I can't remember which way around. What we
believe
talked
it's
about
Premiership,
It's Premiership. I've been calling it a Championship, but it's actually a Premiership apparently.
Yeah, that's a little disappointing from a Southland sporting point of view. No, someone didn't tell them that Southland sports people want to watch both. But anyway, my sky.
Shafted by the draw again.
Get along to the stadium and then
What's going on?
Hit my sky.
Yeah, that's right. That's what you should do. Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. So there we go. That is episode 5 of The Raw. You, of course, will get it every week at the Southland Tribune and also wherever you get your podcasts. And why not give us a rate or review? Tell your mates if you think it's worth a listen.
Depends what you want to do with the review before you review.
Yeah, true. 5 stars only, thanks.
Every week, whether you want it or not.
Yeah, if it's not 5 stars, don't bother, all right? And you can find us at The Raw Podcast NZ on your social media channel of choice as well, too, if you want to give us a follow there. Not that there's much happening on those at the moment, but, all in good
Be
time.
the first.
Be the first. No, Cormac Buchanan. He did make that point. It was our first follow. So anyway, thanks, boys. Have a good week, and we'll catch up next week.